can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Welcome back to Propology 101, and today we're going to talk about this unfinished project. This is Dinn Djarin's blaster from the Mandalorian series. Now, this is also known as the IB-94, and 94 might give us an idea about this because this is a Bergman Model 1, and this is what Dinn Djarin's blaster is based on. Now, we also have a little more information. We know which version the blaster is based on. It's based on the Swiss Trials version of the Bergman Model 1. And the reason why we know this is the Swiss Trials was the only version of the number 1 to actually have the cleaning rod installed on the side of the gun. And that's a very distinct feature on the side of the blaster is the cleaning rod. And funny enough, if you historically research the Bergman Model 1, the Swiss Trials pictures always show up because it was the best documentation of the gun way back in the day. Now, Bergmans still do exist today. They are somewhat rare, and they are also expensive. So right off the bat, we know they did not use a real Bergman Model 1 for the Mandalorian series. But what they probably did was design this and 3D print it. And from then on, they probably made molds and built their heroes and stunts and everything off that. Now, there are some differences, a lot of differences. For example, the way the Bergman Model 1 loaded is it loaded from the side. This little line right here that's still on the actual blaster is the line between the body of the blast or the body of the gun and the loading gate of the gun. So you would open it like this, swing it down, and load it through the side. And that's how it worked. They also changed a few things. The rear sight is totally different and totally custom. They also put a different style hammer on it. The hammer they used on the blaster looks a lot more like a Mauser hammer than the actual Bergman hammer, which looked more like an Old West revolver style hammer. They also redesigned the grip and put a few other pieces on here, like the Picatinny on top, and they put this little bracket on the side here. But overall, the basic design and shape is 100% Bergman Model 1. Now, they added some greeblies and changed a few parts around, like they kept the cleaning rod. They also kept the safety lever. It's actually fits right here. I have the safety lever not finished. It fit right here. And how the safety lever worked was you just pulled it down and it moved a cam that lifted the hammer off the firing pin, and it would never contact the firing pin as the safety was down. But they changed the direction. The safety lever is on backwards compared to the way it was on the original gun. And then they added some pieces, some greeblies. Now, this doesn't have a scope on it, but it does have some greeblies that fit on this side. And there are 2 aluminum style discs. They're totally custom, no sourcing lookup or anything like that. They're just custom made greeblies for the right hand side of the blaster. Now, the blaster is very plain as far as Star Wars blasters go, and I think that's part of its beauty. It keeps really with what it's originally based on. Anyone who's a gun person says, that's a Bergman Model 1. It's not right, but it is a Bergman Model 1. The flash suppressor is just a basic cone-shaped flash suppressor with a blade or sight blade on the front of it. This is the one I made for it. I machined it out of aluminum because I wanted the tooling. So I looked very closely, and you could see tooling on the prop blaster. So I wanted to make sure I made it out of aluminum so I could simulate and have that same tooling. Now, this will be cast in resin when I do finish it, but it will pick up those tooling marks. There are multiple versions of the blaster, and they're not really versions as much as they are hero to stunt. There's differences. Some of the pieces are assembled differently and put on in different places. I believe the heroes still are in the hands of Lucasfilm, and they're always on tour, showing up in touring shows, costumes, the Mandalorian exhibit, and all that stuff at Celebration and whatnot. Now, there are some that have gone to auction. There's one particular one that went to auction several years back, and it is much different. Overall shape and everything is fine. Some of the greeblies are in different places and whatnot, but it is different. The paint job is different. A lot of other little things are different, and it really shows that the heroes are so much more refined with their paint jobs and everything like that. And I also noticed on the hero versions, I don't know if these pieces are real metal or if they are electroplated plastic pieces. But the cleaning rod, the trigger, there's a couple screw pieces, these pieces over here, and the flash suppressor all look to be real metal, even though I believe the blaster body is a resin composite or a resin. It appears it has either electroplated plastic parts or real parts. I imagine making the aluminum parts, like the hero greeblies, like these guys here, that takes very little money and very little time to just knock these out on a metal lathe. And I think they actually had real metal greeblies on it, as opposed to the stunt versions. They all definitely look like they're plastic and they're cast on the body. On the heroes, it definitely looks like a separate piece. Same with the flash suppressor on the hero and the cleaning rod. Like I said, the cleaning rod and the trigger and a few of the other brass-looking pieces, they definitely look like they're either electroplated or real metal. Besides that, there's not a whole lot to talk about this blaster. It's just a really cool blaster. It has a really cool history, being one of the very first semi-automatic pistols ever produced. It wasn't very successful, but it's just a cool-looking blaster. And it's a cool gun that it was based on with a really cool history, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about. Join us next time when we pull in another prop, tear it down, and see what it's made of.